Okay. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Gabby, you alright?
I'm fine. I'm fine. So
Where are you?
I'm
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling you from Berlin now. I'm sitting in my room. And where are you, Chris?
I'm in the living room of my house in Nottingham,
Okay, great.
in England or Britain or however you want to call it.
hmm Okay.
Yeah. And I think we're going to talk about issues to do with contemporary art in an urban environment which combines history. Is that right?
Yes, I think that would be a great thing to talk about because both of us are involved in that in one or another way.
Yeah. And first of all, you'd like me to just talk about my own practice and how I approach those issues. Is that right?
Yes, I think that would be really interesting, and it was very great that you came to see my installation Hidden Spaces in early September in Sneinton at Backlit Gallery. And then, so I'm curious first to hear about your background and
Yeah.
then about how you experienced that installation.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons why I made sure I went to see that show was because I could see lots of similarities with my own approach, but also lots of differences, which I found really interesting. Um, my background is in local urban history and also design, and often within urban history, I feel sometimes there's a lack of practical approach. Sometimes academic papers get buried away,
hmm
or too much of it, in a popular sense, becomes about nostalgia, which has little place for me because I've got nothing to be nostalgic about. You know, I'm not of a young age.
hmm
And then with design, that can be frustrating. Art and design can be frustrating because sometimes it lacks purpose and historical context. It seems to have sometimes has very little interest within urban political situations.
You get
Uh,
superficial sometimes.
Superficial, and that can feel sort of empty and exasperating, and actually contributing to some of the problems rather than trying to tackle them.
hmm
And so then in the past few years, I've had a couple of interesting commissions come about, which have been quite positive. So, for example, working with a sustainable transport organisation within the city, creating history guidebooks to working class council estates and neighbourhoods, um, and trying to communicate the history, not only for the neighbourhoods themselves, but also so other people around the city have a less negative attitude towards them. So trying to deal with problems of inequality. And within that, sometimes it feels like, is this what the neighbourhood wants? Do they want this really nicely designed, well-researched item, or do they just want to remember the good old days?
Yeah. This is interesting. Yeah.
And when you make the nicely designed thing to the, um, well, I'm going to say it, to the middle class people, if you like,
Mhm.
are they, um, is it really going to change their view of those areas, which then sometimes are no-go areas? You know, um, does it actually successfully you challenge that situation?
Mhm.
Um, uh, I think it's still too early to say for me. I think sometimes some days I go away thinking that didn't work quite right. I've got to try this and that, and some days some really positive things do happen.
Mhm.
So
you said to me something like it's a continuous approach, like kind of you keep approaching the subject, you keep adjusting the approach and the way to yeah, you keep adjusting the work towards the context you're finding in.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's right. I think generally it's just a difficult balancing act. It's never just like let's just start one and do the other. Just be aware of those issues. It's a lot harder than just going, oh, this is really popular within art and design. Let's just create something for the creative community and then look really cool. You know, there's so much of that stuff. Whereas this is, I think, quite a challenge, and sometimes you feel a bit of an outsider within the creative community because they still might not be interested within.
And they don't really quite mix. From your experience, it's quite different, like the local residents community and the creative community that there's not too much overlap, or it's sometimes difficult if you're dressing one too far, then that you lose the other one.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah. Yeah. So I suppose that's my approach. I mean, I suppose at heart you've got to have like some sort of purpose, haven't you? And just keep on continuing it. And I think what I'm really interested in is sort of ideas of trying to tackle inequality and sustainability, you know, within urban environments, and just seeing how I can keep working within that area. And then you allow that research to change, I suppose. Do you want to talk about my experience of your show?
Yeah, that would be great. Tell me how was it when you went there?
It was a nice day, sunny. It was a very busy day. There was lots going on in town. I couldn't believe it. And I didn't think you go to a show, you don't always spend that much time there. But it really made you want to spend well over an hour. I didn't know what quite to expect, but the subject matter was appealing, and I thought the editing and the how it was intercut with sound manipulations was both very interesting and challenging, but also very accessible. And I could imagine these sound clips being popular with local radio, local media. And so I came away from it often thinking that you could do it again, you could do more, and could do it for longer. So it could be on for like weeks, and I think you'd get quite a lot of positive feedback from that.
Great. Sounds good.
Would you do it again?
Yes, I would. And this project was very much a kind of a trial, a test towards for me, a really new field of work. So we had very little time, very few interviews, and a very short time to show the installation, and kind of on purpose also to just test this new medium of working, test the collaboration with the sound designer Mattef Kuhlmey, which is the first time that we worked together. So it was all to see, okay, let's test the grounds for this type of work, and during the process of doing it, and then hearing also the responses from people that came, and just really realizing how long people stayed. And actually there was quite a few people that stayed well over an hour, and really stayed afterwards and got into conversation about their own memories of like, just it set off something, and there was space for conversation afterwards. So that kind of all led us to want to do it again. And one option is to go deeper into that district of Nottingham, into Sneinton and St Anne's, So to kind of keep collecting material and put it on for a longer period of time, or to choose a specific location and do it for that location. Like just, I mean, there's different options, but definitely we'd like to extend it.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I liked was that the way how you'd placed the installations within the space. So, for example, the chairs next to windows, which encourage you to sit and look out into the street. And the thing about that backlit that's quite good, unlike a lot of studios and galleries, is that it's actually quite neighbourly, isn't it? You can look out the window, you can see the guys washing their cars, or people putting the washing out. Or you can see into town as well. You can see various layers of history. And you don't always get that in a lot of studios. Sometimes they're a bit off the beaten track, aren't they? Whereas with that one, it really feels plugged in. In fact, every time I go to Backlit, I can't stop looking out the window.
Great, that's good.
So, yeah, I thought you made really good use of space. And another great example of that was the stairwell, where you had the sounds sort of going up the stairwell, and sort of mirrored that. That was really fantastic, and also very well composed in terms of the sound you chose. I remember there was a few guys sitting in there, just sort of sitting on the floor and having a great time, really enjoying it. So yes, all of that was really positive, and just say, keep doing it and keep developing it, and do it again, and do it for longer, in terms of how long the exhibition is open for.
I think there's something like really a sense, or what I was aiming for. Maybe to talk a little bit about my background now as well. I have this background as a choreographer and a dancer for the last 10, 13, something like that years. Also a connection to Dance 4 as a choreographer and dancer. And then in the last couple of years, through studies of urban studies and historical urban studies, so urban history and city research, this whole new field open, and this possibility to engage with the city as a topic and with urban history as a topic for my artistic work opened up, and then really the question, like, what do I do? Am I going to make dance pieces about a city or a neighborhood? Am I going to take that into dance, or how do I engage? How do I put my practice as a choreographer together with this topic of memories, of personal histories? And I think, like, so then going into Backlit and arranging this interview footage that was taken in the weeks beforehand, and lots of conversations, arranging that in space, for me was really like a clear decision to say, to also for my own understanding as a choreographer, this is not about dance, but this is very much about choreography. So very much about arranging in terms of the order of the clips of the conversations, the combination between composed music and bits of story, the way that it's arranged in space, where you're sitting, what you're seeing, how long are these clips, like how many minutes is your attention span as an audience member, because I don't see the people coming. I can only see them as audience members because that's my background. I see them in my sense of like some understanding of a dramaturgy or a dance piece. To see, okay, the attention span like this. If there's a topic, if 4 or 5 people are talking about pubs in the neighborhood, this thing has to be. It can't be longer than 4 minutes because it's enough for the attention span. And you need something visually exciting or visually stimulating to look at. So then the chair for that theme of the pubs had to be facing the one pub that was closed down, just looking out the window. So it like that, and that in terms of the technical side of it, the sound edits and the compositions, that I really had to leave with Mattef, because he's the expert for it. He's been a sound technician and composer for many, many years. So he was very confident with that. But in terms of placing those memories and the experience, somehow the physical experience that you have when you walk through it, that I really felt like this is something I would want to engage with as a choreographer, whatever that means and whatever's coming out of it. That was some kind of, also for me, the process to kind of justify doing that as a choreographer rather than a visual artist, rather than a sound artist, to say what's my place in this, or as an urban historian and choreographer somehow. So this was really a part of the finding of.
I mean, the choreography from a dance point of view reminds me of how I approach history from a design point of view, which is to think about flow and sequencing. So you had a lot of
I think that's really, that hits it.
Like you have stories about everyday things. Like there was a story about a dog, wasn't there, in a newsagent, I think. And then you'll have some very serious issues as well, like slum clearance and displacement and immigration. And so what you have a variety, a flow of themes and stories, rather than just something that was quite homogenous. It had a movement, I thought, within the space, and
But I think this is, like we were talking a little bit before this online recorded thing, we did a bit of a cheat preparation conversation, talking about our two, both of our backgrounds somehow, and both of us have two disciplines, or two main disciplines that we're working with, I would say. And one of them is this interest in history, urban history in the city. And another one is, in your case, it's working with design, and in my case, it's working with choreography. And I think, and we were talking also, like, if you're really going into local history, which I think you do quite a lot as well, like in a lot of your projects. Yeah. So you have the local people, the people that you're engaging with through conversation, through that are this living history somehow.
Oh yeah.
That you really work, you're working with. And you also want to benefit of the product that you're creating, and the product that you're creating has something to do with wanting to make that history very much accessible, wanting to make it easy to read, to experience physically or visually. And I think that's it's very
you want
similar.
To have substance as well. Otherwise, it will lack. Meaning,
But you also want it to be somehow artistically in your own aesthetic or in your own interest. So there is if I speak for myself, then I do want to make it accessible enough for the people that I've made it together with, that have participated somehow in the installation, with their interviews, with their conversation. I want them to be happy to come and experience the installation, but then it's happening in a high art, I guess, or in a gallery, in a place that just has and the way that the whole aesthetic surrounding of it, and maybe it just has kind of access barriers at some points towards for the people that are directly involved to engage in it. And if I then if I make it so accessible that I set it actually in a community center or in the direct neighborhoods, then the artistic community that I also want to engage with, and that is important for me, and that kind of I connect to, they won't come, or they will find access problems for that. So this is something, I don't know, that I guess both of us have encountered, and maybe just to hear a little bit from you. What's your method for, because you've been doing this for longer? I'm just starting off.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I've experienced this situation for a time. If I make a work, you want you want it to have some depth to it, some meaning and some purpose. Otherwise, you're going to lose interest yourself, and it won't have much intellectual weight behind it. It'll be about giving people just what they want, rather than trying to deal with need.
And also you want to challenge people at the right doses.
Yeah, that's right. So I think if I give more of a hard example, I have to write, say, little guidebooks about a neighbourhood. You're going to be quite worried because you're thinking, I hope they like it. They might think this is not talking about the things that they wanted me to say, and not talking about it in a way which they will relate. You'll be having all these thoughts going on, and you'll be probably quite negative about yourself sometimes.
I had those really same worries, like with the